Welcome to the Sunday political talk show stream. That's crazy. A U.S. senator can send a letter. A U.S. senator asks government officials for information he just ignored. Just completely ignored because you're a Republican. Welcome to the LCTRfan podcast. I'm the #1 conservative streamer on Twitch. I believe in the U.S. Constitution, God, family, country. I do commercial litigation. I've been practicing law for 10 years. I've traveled the country, and I talk about politics every night on Twitch. We just started doing the podcast, so hope you guys enjoy it.
But the term armed insurrection you think is the wrong term. Why?
Because it's not an armed insurrection. It wasn't an armed insurrection. It wasn't armed, and there wasn't an insurrection. Both of them are false. We should only call things what they really are. My word. They're making it out as if like there were thousands of people with weapons, and they were trying to take over the Capitol and overthrow the government. It's like, first of all, no, there were not thousands of people with guns. Second of all, no, they weren't trying to overthrow the government. They were trying to force Mike Pence and Congress to reject state electors. Totally different things.
7-foot wire fencing and the barbed wire protecting the Capitol. Are you going through metal detectors every day?
No, but we're going through, security, obviously. And, as I've been saying, this is the 7 or 8 foot fence with concertina wire is really meant to create a narrative that 74 million Americans who supported and voted for President Trump are suspected domestic terrorists or possible armed insurrectionists that the Capitol needs to be protected against. I don't think anything could be further from the truth. I'm not aware of a heightened threat level now that the inauguration is over.
Absolutely insane. He's 100% right. They're doing this to try to make it out to be like there's 100 million terrorists in the United States, and there are all these Trump supporters and Republicans out there. That's 100% what it is, and it's absolutely preposterous. It's totally unnecessary. Take the freaking walls down. Tear down this wall, Nancy. I thought walls didn't work anyway.
Congressman Mike Turner joining us this morning. Biden agenda. What can you tell us about it from your standpoint?
Well, if you look at the Biden agenda already, he's not only overturning the Trump agenda, the Trump accomplishments that have given us one of the strongest economies we've ever had, but he's implemented policies that really are against 60% of the American public in public opinion. Opening the border, once again attacking our energy production from which we've got energy independence. His overtures to China and our concerns there as to how this administration is going to be soft on China, soft on Russia. And certainly their overtures to Iran, turning upside down our Middle East policy. All of these are issues that people are very concerned about. And I think as we look to their, appeasing their left and looking to implement a socialist agenda, I think the wall has even greater understanding because we see that they're separating themselves off from the American public.
Well, what you're saying is very disturbing, Congressman.
I don't know. I'm not real impressed with this guy. It's like, yeah, they're separating them off from the American public and they're doing things that are radical and extreme that the American people don't support, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is that the wall is there to make people think that conservatives and Republicans and Trump supporters are terrorists, and that is designed to create a situation where they can start putting Republicans and conservatives in concentration camps. I mean, it's not that bad. It's not there. They're not doing that. But like, there's a lot of people on the left that would love to do that. And it's about, painting anybody who disagrees with them as a terrorist, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it's just terrible, man. I'm glad to see an actual focus on the Biden administration out of a Sunday talk show. That's why I liked watching Maria Bartiromo on Fox News Sunday Morning Futures, because I guarantee you, when we watch the other mainstream fake news Sunday talk shows, they're going to be talking about Texas. They're going to be talking about Ted Cruz. They're going to be talking about COVID and Fauci. They're going to be talking about white supremacists and racists and the Proud Boys and whatever the hell else. But they're not going to be talking about what President Biden is doing, because what President Biden is doing is truly extreme, truly unpopular, totally unconstitutional. I mean, and really just out of control. Even though Biden's not even as extreme as a lot of the extremist Democrats want him to be. I shudder to think about what like a truly socialist, left-wing, radical leftist president would be doing. Because Biden's not even that far left. He's not going far left enough for some people, and yet he's still doing things that are absolutely terrible. There's obviously China. Obviously, Biden is corrupt. Biden is beholden to China. Biden is a corrupted person from special interest groups, whether it's the military-industrial complex or the pharmaceutical industries or other elements of the Democrat Party. So for sure, Biden is one of the most corrupted sort of special interest beholden presidents of all time. But in terms of like policy, in terms of like the border, for example, you know, he's not going nearly as far left as a lot of people on the left want him to, which is good, but it still is crazy enough as is.
Absolutely unacceptable. Millions of people struggling to
See, told you the fake news. We're going to be focusing on Texas.
recover from days of power outages. Get the latest on the situation in Texas.
I said opening the majority of schools in K through 8th grade because they're the easiest to open.
Mixed messages about when more students will return to the class.
Insane. I can't believe they're not saying we should have opened all schools K through university yesterday. This is outrageous.
And where do we stand on the distribution of vaccines and their effectiveness against new variants?
Man, I'm still really excited about that Wall Street Journal piece by the Johns Hopkins doctor that talked about how the virus is going to basically be gone in 2 months. And then you look at the numbers, like the numbers out today, super low numbers. Numbers continue to drop. Montana is getting close to having less than 100 cases a day now. So everything's looking up and up.
We'll ask Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and...
Why would you bring on Fauci? Nobody trusts him or they really are going to continue to bring on Fauci. Nobody cares. Nobody trusts him anymore.
In hindsight, I wouldn't have done it.
Critics slam Senator Ted...
There it is. We're going to talk about Ted Cruz, guys. Not one word about Biden. Have you noticed that? Oh, there was one word about Biden. There was one little thing about Biden in schools. But look at all of the Biden signing executive order after executive order after executive order, implementing radical, extreme, anti-American policies, and not a word about it. Not a word about all this garbage Biden has done. What a joke, dude. Chris Wallace is such a joke.
In a moment, we'll talk with Bill Gates about what happened in Texas and his idea.
Why do we care what Bill Gates thinks about the Texas electrical grid? I'm sick of Bill Gates butting in on everything. Hey, let me speak. I'm Bill Gates. Let me talk about this. I'm Bill Gates. Let me talk about this. I want to talk about the grid. Hey, I'm Bill Gates. I want to talk about the electrical grid. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about that. Bill Gates.
The deep freeze in Texas and the breakdown in the state's power grid have renewed questions about climate change and how we produce the energy we need. I sat down earlier with Bill Gates.
Climate change? And so you're going to sit down with Bill Gates, who's a climate alarmist nut? This is too absurd. This is too ridiculous. Why are you going to bring in Bill Gates to talk about climate change when the issue is how can we get power?
Who's out with a new book, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster.
Oh, my word.
And we began with
Is Bill Gates a climate scientist? I didn't think Bill Gates is a climate scientist. This is absurd.
Well, the change in the wind patterns is allowing those cold fronts to come down from Canada more often. There's a...
I love this. Record freezing cold temperatures are now the fault of global warming. The earth is heating up and cooking up. And because the earth is heating up and cooking up, we're getting these massive freezing cold. It's like, wait, hold on. What? How does the earth heating up and cooking up cause freezing cold temperatures? Oh, it's just a change in the wind pattern. And they think that's like this genius science explanation. You can't question it now. They said it's a change in the wind patterns. Oh my gosh, global warming is changing the wind patterns, and so now these, it's like, that's not a very compelling explanation. That's not an explanation that actually makes any kind of logical sense. We could say, oh no, it's actually, it's a change in the Earth's, axial tilt that's causing the jet stream. And people, okay. I mean, you can just say shit. Anyway, even if it is because of certain climate factors, because the Earth is heated up a little bit, that doesn't prove that it's being heated up by man. Doesn't prove that it's man-made global warming.
Pattern of wind that as it gets warmer, that breaks down.
Again, who cares? We're coming out of the ice age. The climate is always changing. Just because the Earth has warmed up a little bit and it's caused a change in wind pattern doesn't mean that it's all because of man and that we're all going to die in 10 years unless we give ultimate power to Democrats.
The ill effects, whether it's farming in Texas being changed or wildfires or coral reefs dying off, there's super hard evidence of the ocean rising.
There's super hard evidence of the ocean rising. Then why are all these Democrats buying beachfront properties, Bill?
This is a real challenge, and it's great to see that particularly young Republicans are joining in and saying that this is something they care about beyond their own.
No, they're not. No, they're not, Bill Gates. You think they are because you're totally disconnected from reality.
It's easy to talk about getting off fossil fuels. It's easy to talk about going to a plant-based diet. But the reality is that hundreds of thousands of people will lose their jobs, that the coal miners in West Virginia or the livestock ranchers in Nevada.
No, Chris, no, don't you know? All those people will just get jobs making solar panels and wind turbines. Hundreds of thousands of people can lose their jobs, and then they can learn how to make solar panels. Don't you want them to make solar panels? Watch, I guarantee you that's the answer.
Nebraska will be wiped out.
Well, it's very important as we solve this problem that we not cause those community dislocations. We have a
community dislocations. Why do they have to use these Orwellian terms?
30-year transition period. The skill sets involved, whether it's making clean hydrogen, sequestering CO2, the engineering skill sets, the things that those workers do will be important. In fact, we're going to have to almost triple the size of the electric grid and build all that transmission.
Triple the size of the electric grid. We're going to have to rebuild. We're going to have to rebuild every building. We're going to have to tear down every single building in the United States and rebuild it. And then we're going to have to take the electrical grid and triple it, make it triple the size. This is insanity stuff. We're not tripling the electric grid. We're not tearing down every building and rebuilding every building.
Mission. And so it's not like there's going to be a shortage of jobs overall. It's just balancing to make sure that, each.
See, I told you. Yep. No, it doesn't matter. There's not going to be a shortage of jobs. All these people, they can work on solar panels and they can work on wind turbines, and then they can work on tripling the size of the electric grid, and they can work on tearing down every single building in the country and rebuilding it and doing things like that. So stupid.
Let's talk about your book. You say that we have to go from the 51 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions, from 51 billion tons to zero by the year 2050, and that
so
anything
stupid.
Less than that will precipitate a catastrophe.
We have to go to zero. We have to go from 51 billion tons to zero. Otherwise, it's going to be a catastrophe and we're all going to die. We're all going to die. It's insanity. zero greenhouse gas emissions, or we're all going to be. This is the most extremist bullshit, anti-science stuff I've ever heard of in my life.
2050 happens to be the soonest realistic date for the world to change all of these sorts of emissions, which are actually quite broader than most people are aware of, because it's got things like steel and cement, not just cars and electricity.
I want to pick up on that, because you say in your book, don't fool yourselves. This is going to be hard, and you have a chart that I want to put up.
Yeah, acting as if he knows 100% what's everything that causes the climate, and we know what's going to happen if we do this, and we control the temperature of the earth, and the earth's climate is controlled by one factor. There's only one input. This extremely complex system that's impacted by the other parts of the universe, that's impacted by other parts of the solar system, that is impacted by multi-thousand-year cycles in deep ocean currents and things like that, that we barely even have introductory knowledge of. It doesn't matter. There's only one factor. There's only one thing, and this forces temperatures up. And if you put more CO2 in, it causes crazy temperature increases, and we know exactly how much, and we know exactly what's going to happen. It's like, no, you don't. This is all just pure guesswork, most of it. Oh, and by the way, the only way to fix it, guys, the only way to fix it is to adopt hardcore Democrat policies and give Democrats a ton of government power and give up all of your freedoms and give up all of your liberties. Otherwise, it's going to be a catastrophe, and we're all going to die from global warming and rising sea levels. This entire interview, it just assumes that everybody knows that we know 100% how the climate works. We know 100% what factors go into the climate. We know exactly what the temperature should be. We know how to control Earth's temperature. That humans should control Earth's temperatures. Humans should be the ones that decide what the Earth's temperature should be. And humans are already controlling the Earth's temperature, and we just need to do better of controlling the Earth's temperature. And we know that blah, 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 we know all this stuff. And it's like, dude, you guys haven't established any of that. You haven't approved any of that. But they're just proceeding as if, yep, that's the assumption here. It's preposterous.
It's all a matter of degree. If we wait 10 more years, it's not as bad as if you wait 20 or you wait 30, because the temperature just keeps going up, and it's going up more rapidly than it has in natural history. But the instability.
What is this guy talking about? Where is he coming up with this shit? It's just hard to watch this and just not burst out laughing. Like, dude, this sounds like, does he not know how many times people have made climate predictions over the last 100 years and how many times they've been wrong? Every single time. This just sounds so preposterous. Just making these outlandish claims and just totally dead serious. Just completely preposterous, outlandish claims, and just with an absolute straight face. What a troll.
Finally, Twitter has banned Donald Trump permanently, and Facebook is considering doing the same. What do you think of that?
Well, I'm, just one citizen on this issue.
So all of a sudden he's just one citizen. When it comes to COVID, when it comes to global warming, Bill Gates is a genius. He knows everything. But when it comes to violations of free speech and cancel culture and the destruction of free and open debate in our society and the demonization of free thought and thought crimes being committed and people's lives being ruined for voicing political opinions. No, I'm just a citizen. I'm just one citizen. Don't worry. No, I'm just another citizen. Just another citizen. Terrible.
He said a lot of things about the illegitimacy of the election that are corrosive, but the idea that you end up with a lifetime ban, that it seems like we should discuss. We don't want to partition and have, a social network for one party and another social network. We want to have a common base where we're exchanging ideas and thoughts. So I think these are early days on how we keep the good parts of social media and yet not spread violence or, vaccine denial, Holocaust denial. There's got to be some way that between the government and the well-meaning actors, we draw the line so we keep the open debate without the corrosive parts.
So in other words, you don't want an open debate. In other words, he doesn't believe in open debate. What is he talking about? But he is kind of going, even he was kind of like, it seems a bit extreme to just ban Trump permanently. You know that you effed up as a leftist anti-free speech warrior when even Bill Gates is starting to question you. Holy cow. No, I can't believe Bill Gates. I wonder what's wrong with him. I really wonder what's wrong with Bill Gates. Something's wrong with him. Like, did he, is he scared? Is he really scared of losing his money? Did all of his money go to his head and he's come out as this like radical left winger because he thinks that's going to save his money? Is he very weak? Is he very weak and he really is obsessed with public perceptions and he wants to be loved and adored by the public and the left and the mainstream media? Or like, is he evil? Is he a liar and he's just out here doing this because he thinks it's good for his legacy? Like, what is really going on with Bill Gates? Like, what on earth? Yeah, let's bring on Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci. That'll get everybody to think that we got it right. Yeah, let's get Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci on Fox News Sunday. Yeah. Everybody trusts and respects them.
We have seen a 5-week decline in the number of COVID cases, down 69% over that time period. Between vaccines and measures like mask wearing, does that mean that we're beating the virus, or is there still a chance that...
Chris Wallace, our cases are down because of mask wearing. No, Chris Wallace, our cases are not down because of mask wearing, you idiot. We've been wearing masks for a year. Cases are going down the last 6 weeks. We didn't just start wearing masks 6 weeks ago, you idiot.
We really need to keep our guard up because we have...
Listen to that. Wow. The virus is... Hey, Fauci, the virus is going away. The virus is plummeting. We're reaching herd immunity levels. The virus will be gone in basically 2 months. Plus, these lockdowns and these crackdowns and stuff have done more harm than good and more damage than good as it is. So we should have immediately gone back to normal like yesterday, right? Nope, we need to continue our guard, guys. We need to continue our guard. You need to stay locked down. You need to stay vigilant. It's like, no, dude. That's been causing us damage.
The slope of downward trajectory, Chris, is really very good and very impressive. It's very sharp. If you
look at Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci has to come out and say it's good that our cases are going down, guys. No, it is. It's good. It's good that our cases are going down. But it's like we all know Fauci doesn't want the cases to go down. Somebody made a really, really good point on Twitter. Jordan Schachtel, really, really great independent journalist. But he made a really good point. And he said, never forget that this year was the best year of Fauci's life. Fauci loved this year. This was Fauci's best year of all time. Fauci became basically this like folk hero and like this household name this year. This year was Fauci's best year. This pandemic was the greatest and best thing that ever happened to Fauci. So that's why he has to come out and say, hey, it's good. It's good that these cases are going down. Because it's like, deep down, Fauci is sad. Deep down, Fauci is sad that the cases are going down because it means he's about to be totally irrelevant. And yeah, Fauci is the highest paid government worker, over $400,000 a year. He's just a government. He's like every other government bureaucrat. He's worked in the government for 35 years. He doesn't know the first thing about the real world.
I was listening very carefully when Vice President Harris said it should be a priority. She did not say it's a sine qua non that unless you get vaccinated, you cannot come into the school and teach. So what we're saying... Of
course not. Why do people keep acting as if there's no schools open? In lots of parts of the country, places like Florida, places like Montana, schools have been open the entire time. This idea that schools aren't open and we have to vaccinate to get schools open is preposterous. It's like, no, we've had schools open this entire time. Everywhere should have had their schools open this entire time. To me, it's mind-boggling. I don't think there's anything that shows a bigger difference between states and local politics than this whole school thing. It's like a different country. Living in different states through this pandemic has truly been like living in different countries. And I can't believe that some states kept their schools closed this entire time. What an absolute joke.
In December, Cruz attacked the mayor of Austin for going to Mexico during the pandemic with this: hypocrites, complete and utter hypocrites.
Yeah, that's because, dude, are you serious, Chris Wallace? You're going to compare these two things? No, Ted Cruz never told anybody to not travel. Ted Cruz never told anybody to lock down and stay inside and then was out traveling for fun. These are totally different things. What is Ted Cruz talking about? Or what is Chris Wallace talking about? What Ted Cruz did is not hypocritical because Ted Cruz never told people to not travel. Oh, this is so frustrating. Chris Wallace, are you serious? This is totally two different things. Not comparable in any way, shape, or form. What Democrats did was 10 times worse. Democrats saying, don't travel, stay locked down, shutdowns, lockdowns, and we support lockdowns and shutdowns, and then going out and traveling is 10 times worse than what Ted Cruz did. Yeah, Ted Cruz did nothing wrong. All Ted Cruz was doing was being a good parent.
I think voters will remember how you make them feel. And if you make them feel like you don't care about them, they do remember that sort of thing. That's why some politicians thrive. They persuade voters that they understand what they're going through. I think for a lot of voters, they didn't have the opportunity to fly to Cancun.
What a sad statement on our political affairs. Now, it doesn't actually matter. It doesn't actually matter if what you're doing makes sense. It doesn't matter if you have good policy. It doesn't matter if you're doing things to protect your constituents' rights. Nope. All it matters is how you make people feel. Do people feel like you care? Do people like how you make them feel? What that may be true, and if that's true, it's a sad statement on our politics. The American people are completely just not paying attention whatsoever and making dumbass decisions about who to vote for based on how they make them feel, as opposed to who has good policy and who's actually protecting their rights. This isn't hard. Ted Cruz never told people to not travel. Ted Cruz never told people you need to stay in Texas right now. Stay in Texas. Do you know what hypocrisy is? Hypocrisy is when you tell somebody not to do something and then you go do it yourself. Going and doing something when you never told anybody not to do that, there's nothing wrong with that.
New York Governor, Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's in much more serious problem for his handling of COVID deaths inside nursing homes. Mo, the FBI is in.
Interesting, Chris Wallace. So you think Cuomo's in a lot worse trouble, but you decide to talk about Senator Cruz first? Huh.
We were busy. We were doing our job. We're trying to save lives. No excuses.
So Andrew Cuomo admitted his mistake, and that was not knocking down false information good enough when it's like, no, it wasn't false, actually, Cuomo. You were the one that was putting out false information. I mean, there has been a significant amount of change with Biden coming into office, especially on the immigration front, which the president has a lot of control over. And a lot on the regulatory front and on the enforcement front, the president is changing a lot from what Trump did and said. But I also don't necessarily agree with you, Gen 10, that Biden erases Trump and puts us back to 2016. I think what Trump was able to accomplish is irreversible. Trump woke a lot of Americans up, and a lot of Americans, I think now, understand how corrupt the government is and how corrupt the media is, and that you can't unring that genie. I think that genie's out of the bottle now. Now, is it enough? No, of course not. Do we still have a lot of people who are totally blinded and totally just propagandized and brainwashed? Yes. I'm starting to love to see the radical left get really mad. Have you noticed how upset the left is now that Biden's not ultra left? They're all there. They're all out there tweeting. Well, so we're not getting $15 minimum wage. We're not getting $2,000 checks. We're not getting a halt on all deportations. What exactly are we getting with Biden? And it's like, yes. And Biden is not going to support your radical left policies. When are you progressives and leftists going to realize that Biden is not your friend? Biden is not a socialist like you are. Now, my problem with Biden is I don't think he's strong enough to really maintain a fight against the socialist radical wing, and he's already caved to the radical wing of his party enough. But there is a sort of a civil war going on in the Democrats right now.
And this week, he emerged to participate in a sanitised town hall, being interviewed by the Bidenista, Anderson Cooper of CNN. Biden promptly gave away his teleprompter, and the result was nothing short of a disaster. Biden started off by excusing the genocide against the Uyghur people.
Dude, I love the Sky News. Sky News Australia. It's really weird. Sky News Australia is one of the only mainstream news organizations that will ever even put out some truthful statements every once in a while. The Sky News Australia has done some other really good things. I can't remember what they are right now. Frankly, I've seen a couple of Sky News Australia where I was like, whoa, this is incredible. They're actually speaking the truth.
A lot of people don't know how to register. Not everybody in the community, in the Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to.
Rural or inner cities? Okay, so basically everybody except people in the suburbs? Wow.
Know how to get online to determine how to get in line for that COVID vaccination.
So what? How? That's so racist. I can't believe the racism on the left. This is insane, and that's just laughed off and just thought of as super woke. It's the same thing with voter ID. These Democrats don't think that minority communities can know how to get in line for a vaccine or know how to get their voter ID. This is the most racist stuff in the world. Oh my gosh, dude, that's so offensive. If I was Hispanic or black, I would be like, screw you, Biden. It's preposterous. That's like that, there's an Ami Horowitz short where Ami Horowitz goes to like black people in New York City and asks them if they know how to get a driver's license after he goes and goes to like Manhattan or Brooklyn or something and talks to all these white liberals, and they're all like, yeah, we don't think black people know how to get driver's licenses. And then he goes and he talks to all these black people and are like, hey, the Democrats said that black people don't know how to get a driver's license. Do you have a driver's license? And they're all like, yeah, of course I got a driver's license. What are you talking about? It's just this insane. I mean, it's racism. It's the modern day Democrat Party history of racism, the party of racism. It still continues today.
Up next, the Trump-McConnell feud and the growing divide inside the GOP.
Oh, the growing divide inside. There is no growing divide in the GOP. 95% of Republicans support Trump. Seriously, do these guys not realize what the real Republican base is? 75 million Americans voted for Trump, and 98% of those still support Trump and his policies. There is no divide in the Democrat Party or in the Republican Party. Nothing. And every Sunday, every weekend, week out. It's all about the divide in the GOP, the divide in the GOP. Not a word about the hostile takeover by communists of the Democrat Party. It's mind-boggling. There is no divide in the GOP. Almost all of the Republicans supported Trump and his policies. The divide is because you've got a couple of rhinos and a couple of never-Trumpers that are about to lose their seats and get thrown out of the party.
Look, Chris, this isn't a binary choice between Trump and something else. I mean, basically, the disagreement here is about the former president not appreciating the fact that Senator McConnell spoke out and spoke the truth about January 6th. That's it. It has nothing to do with policy. It has nothing to do with candidates. It has nothing to do with anything beyond that. I
disagree. It does. It obviously has much more to do with it. Mitch McConnell's the swamp, and Donald Trump is not. That's what it has to do with at the root.
for many voters, they're much more focused at this point on domestic concerns, things like the economy and the handling of COVID-19. But in terms of the policy itself, I think...
Yeah, Biden has done such a good job on COVID-19, huh? Wow, cases are dropping because of seasonality, herd immunity, and vaccines that Trump got going. Yeah, Biden's done such a good job. Have you noticed? Here's the other thing I had this thought about the COVID-19 stuff. First of all, Biden has nothing to do or say about coronavirus other than the same crap we've been hearing for the last year. Masks and social distancing. Now it's 2 masks or triple masks. But Joe Biden acted like, Trump, it was all Trump's fault and Trump really screwed up and that Biden was going to have this great COVID plan. He gets into office and he's literally done nothing different than Trump. It's literally vaccines, social distancing, and masking. That's all Biden's got. There's nothing new. I mean, it's so preposterous to act like Biden is some COVID genius and wow, we finally have a good person in charge of COVID. It's like, the other thing is like, it's amazing. It's amazing that we're actually still we're still doing the same blunt force tools that we did a year ago. We're still doing just masking and social distancing, which we've been doing all year long. It's like a year later and the supposed experts in the science, you guys don't have anything different. You still just have these blunt tools of social distancing and masking. You guys can't come up with anything better to do. Just goes to show you how little you can actually do to stop a virus once it's resulting in community spread. But this idea that some huge change in terms of coronavirus policy is just totally false. They haven't changed crap. They haven't done anything new. Thank you guys all for being here. I'll be back again tomorrow night. Don't miss me tomorrow night.